Ukraine, what would Nixon do? In the 1973 Yom Kippur War, he sent Israel everything that can fly. Biden should follow his example. Decisive presidential action can make the difference between success and catastrophe in conflicts abroad. Look back 50 years in history gives us an example of the type of American presidential leadership required to defeat Vladimir Putin's Russia in Ukraine and help secure Ukraine's independence for the long term. The 1973 Yom Kippur War was, much like the war in Ukraine, more than a regional conflict. Israel was an important strategic partner of the U.S. in the Middle East. Egypt and Syria were closely tied to the Soviet Union. When Egypt and Syria launched a two-pronged attack on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur, Israel was caught unaware and unprepared. Early successes by the Arab invaders put Israel in a fight for its survival. By the third day of the war, Israel was on the ropes. It had lost more than 1,000 fighters and a third of its tanks. I was in the White House and remember the dilemma my father-in-law, President Richard Nixon, faced: how to ensure Israel's survival without creating a superpower conflict. To avoid being cast as a pitiful, helpless giant, unwilling to use our military strength to support our allies and strategic partners, the U.S. had to act decisively. Nixon directed the Defense Department to replace all of Israel's military equipment losses quickly. The Pentagon didn't get the message. When the president asked for a status report, Henry Kissinger, his national security advisor, told him, "Defense is putting up all kinds of obstacles." Meanwhile, American intelligence was reporting that the Soviets were mounting a large airlift of weapons and supplies to Syria and Egypt. The president told Mr. Kissinger to instruct the Pentagon to speed it up. Several days passed, and the Pentagon continued to dither. With the Soviets providing 700 tons of military equipment to Egypt and Syria daily, Nixon knew the U.S. had to act. Told that the Air Force couldn't decide which cargo planes to use, he told Mr. Kissinger, "God damn it, use every one we have. Tell them to send everything that can fly." That presidential order broke the bottleneck. Just 7 days after the start of the war, 30 C-130 transports were on their way to Israel, and over the next month more than 550 American air missions resupplied Israel's military, including C-5 transport planes. The planes flew low along Israel's coast, providing tangible evidence of the desperately needed American aid, along with a much-needed morale boost. The Soviets responded by threatening to send troops. Nixon didn't waver. He put all U.S. forces on DEFCON 3, our highest peacetime alert, in preparation for military action. The Soviets backed down, Israel turned the tide of the war, and an American-directed settlement succeeded in keeping Moscow out of the Middle East for the next 40 years. Retired four-star Army General Barry McCaffrey observed recently, "1 company of German tanks in 3 or 4 months and 1 battalion of M1A2 tanks a year from now is an unserious military gesture to Ukraine. Their existence is at stake." General McCaffrey is right. If President Biden is serious about the future of a sovereign Ukraine and the defeat of Russia's territorial ambitions, it's time to act boldly and decisively. It's not too late for the U.S. and its Western partners to send Ukraine everything that can fly.